Good morning, everyone. On behalf of FAITH, Federation of Associations of Indian Tourism and Hospitality, we welcome the national press. Thank you very much for joining in virtually from all over the country. On the call today, we have the national presidents and board representatives from the 10 member associations of FAITH, and we will be introducing them as we go along. We have the FAITH support team, we have our PR agency First Partners, and we have all of you from the mainline media and from the trade media. This is the most appropriate time of having a vision identified. Where do we go from here over the next few years, and what is the
everyone wants to.
What is the execution milestones that we need to achieve, and what is the overall vision that India needs to target going forward? This is a joint vision statement prepared by all the FAITH member associations which have set up the national policy platform FAITH. I would once again, before I invite Nakul Anand, who is the chairman FAITH, to present a vision statement, I would request all of you to kindly mute your mics and not make any observations because this call is being recorded. Kindly mute all the mics, please. Nakul, you're up, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the media. On behalf of FAITH, my fellow board members, I thank you all for your participation at this press conference. India is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav as we complete 75 glorious years of our independence in 2022. We at FAITH ideated when we could gift India with 75 million tourist arrivals. We believe with the strategy broadly outlined in the presentation that follows, it is possible by 2035. Therefore, we titled today's presentation as India at 75, Tourism Vision 2035. The Ministry of Tourism is also preparing its vision document for the year 2047, when India completes 100 years of independence. FAITH's target of 75 million tourists by 2035 is aligned with our recommendation to the Ministry of Tourism for achieving 100 million tourist arrivals as India completes 100 years in 2047. Our vision for 2035 may be an interim one for tourism, but it's going to be a defining one, an important midway point for both government and industry to reflect upon achievements and challenges ahead. With that, I shall now share with you FAITH's vision for 2035. I give a disclaimer here that we could write volumes on what happened in the last 2 years, where tourism went, the number of jobs that were lost, the revenues that were lost, etc. But for purposes of looking ahead and forgetting what happened in the last 2 years, we have given a disclaimer that our hindsight ends at 2019 and our foresight begins at 2022. So I've just left out the years in between. Why does tourism matter? 10.4% of GDP, 1 in 10 jobs, $1.7 trillion in tourism export, 6.8% of global exports. And within the services export, globally, 28.3% comes from tourism. If we were to look at regionally, America gets 15%, the Americas, Europe gets 51%, Africa 5%, Middle East 4%, and Asia Pacific 25%. I've circled Asia Pacific because I believe that for the next 3 to 4 years, short-haul tourism is going to be very prominent. And look at the large numbers that we have that we can capture from. It's global in nature. It has a steady growth rate of over 6% CAGR in the last 50 years. Main source of foreign exchange earning for 1/3 of developing countries. And importantly, in 1/2 of least developed countries accounts for 40% of GDP. Helps build sustainable and nurtures our natural and cultural heritage. Has a very high output multiplier at 2.1 times. It's a redistributor of income. Remember that 94% of the world income goes to 4% of the population, while 60% of the world live on only 6% of the population, of the world income. It's the single largest employer, as I mentioned earlier. Tourism employment opportunities outperform many other industries, 6 times more than automotive, 5 times more than the chemical manufacturing, 4 times more than mining, 2 times more than communication, one-third more than financial services. And women account for 54% of employment in this sector, compared to 39% for the global economy. Closer home, why does it matter to India? It contributes approximately 10% to the Indian economy and is our biggest ambassador to the world. It provides 87.5 direct and indirect jobs. It accounts for 12.5% of the total jobs created from 2019. Foreign tourist arrivals, 19.93 million, foreign exchange of US 30 billion, 2.32 billion domestic tourist visits, domestic visits. We are a nation of interpret travelers. It stimulates the need for critical national and state core and specialized infrastructure and capital expenditure. It positions India as the soft intellectual capital of the world through its natural and cultural heritage legacy of over 9,000 years. The labor capital ratio per million rupees of investment in India, 18 jobs in manufacturing, 45 in agriculture, and 78 jobs in tourism. Where are we? Our foreign exchange earnings in the year 2019 were 30.5, but showing a steady increase. International arrivals here are 17.9. If you notice, my earlier figure had 10.9 million, but this is how the world looks at it, where we've taken foreign inbound plus NRIs returning to India. Our domestic visits, as I said, were 2.3 billion. It's perhaps the largest in the world, although it is estimated that China is 5 billion, but China does not report its numbers, and therefore it is not taken into account. Interestingly, another important figure is that India's outbound is 26.91, a great opportunity to capture this segment within our own country. India, over the last 15 years, has outperformed the global parameters. We have grown at 8% in inbound, whereas world has grown at 4.4. We have grown more than double in foreign exchange earning in a CAGR over 15 years. The global has grown by 6.2, and India has grown by 14.6. We are blessed with multiple growth drivers of tourism: sea, sun, sauna, sand, mountains, flora, fauna, rivers, and mountains. We have a rich cultural heritage. We have lakes, streams, and rivers. We have 70 million hectares of forest. We have 147 dance forms. We are a 9,000 years old civilization. We are an economic superpower. We have 1,640 tea estates, 60% of the world's tiger population, 60% of 60 national parks, 400 wildlife sanctuaries, one of the few countries that has 340 days of sunlight, and 40 world heritage sites. We are a nation where Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism were born, the second largest Muslim population on earth. Christianity has existed for 2,000 years. The oldest Jewish synagogues and Jewish communities have resided. The Dalai Lama and the Tibetan government are in exile, reside in India. The Zoroastrians from Persia have thrived in India. Armenians and Syrians and many others have come here to live. We've been the largest economy on earth for 1,500 of the last 2,000 years, including the second largest only 200 years ago. Year after year, the Indian tourism ranking in the World Competitive Index has grown. We have grown from 65 to 34 as a result of a number of measures taken both by the private and the government. To name a few: development of international circuits, facilitating e-visas, dedicated tourist office in 20 embassies, the Apna Desh Dekho campaign, tourism infrastructure development, just to name a few. But I'd like to circle. We are ranked 8th in cultural resources and business travel, 13th in price competitiveness, and 14th in natural resources. Every country would give an arm and a leg to be under 15 in cultural resources and natural resources, right? But with which we are already blessed. Therefore, we believe that we can, our competitive index number can be far beyond 34. It's a pity that India still, despite all its assets that it has, is still 1.24% of the world tourism share. We regrettably have failed to realize the true impact of tourism and convert our natural advantage into potential economic benefits. Is that an opportunity loss? Some would say yes, but let's look ahead. The bigger the challenge, the greater the opportunity. Where do we want to go? This is our vision statement for Indian tourism. I've got a couple. Could we have a couple of mics that are not unmuted? Could we mute them, please? What is the vision for Indian tourism? To make Indian tourism preferred and loved by both global and domestic tourists. To position our tourism rightly as the social, economic, job and infrastructure creator for India. To create economic and wealth creation opportunity for tourism entrepreneurs. To be a role model for creating sustainable and inclusive ecosystem. We need a spirit of victory. We, as inheritors of proud civilizations, are entitled to a rightful place on this planet. If that indomitable spirit were to rise, nothing can hold us from achieving our rightful destiny. But our tourism vision needs tangible goals. We've set a vision revolving around 75. I love this slide because it's all around 75 or multiple slides. Tourism infrastructure of 75 billion, 75 million inbound travelers, 7.5 billion domestic visits, 75 million outbound travelers, 150 million, which is 75 multiplied by 2 in terms of employment. Economic impact, 75 billion into 15, which is 1.1 trillion. Domestic tourism size, 75 into 3, which is $225 billion. And forex size, 75 billion into 2, which is $150 billion. Most importantly, tourism could lead, if this vision, we can make it happen in 2035 and get 75 million tourists. We could generate 15 crores jobs, 75 direct and 75 indirect. Our goals, though they may seem audacious, are manageable. If you look at it, in the last few years, we have grown inbound tourism by 7.1%. To look further and to achieve our figure of 2035, we now need to grow at 15.9% for the remaining. Inbound tourism, in terms of foreign exchange, we've grown at 9.9. We need to grow at 13.2. Domestic tourism has grown at 13. Even if it grows at 9.5%, we will achieve our targets. And outbound tourism, even if it grows at 8.2 versus what it already grew at 9.3, we are possible to achieve our numbers. What then are the strategic pillars to achieving Indian Tourism Vision 2035? We broke these up into 4. There's a shared national tourism vision. There's a value accretive regulation. There are investment drivers, and there's what takes us to get to market excellence. I'm not going to dwell too much on these details. Our note that follows, a copy of this presentation, would have all this data, but just to take you through some of the few, in terms of sharing a national tourism vision. Tourism was forgotten when the Constitution of India was written. It has been the constant request of this industry, all my colleagues at Faith and other members of tourism associations, that tourism too be included in the concurrent list. We have also requested that tourism must be treated at par with other export services, and such transactions must be rated 0 for GST. We requested in many countries that have had great success in tourism, there's been a National Tourism Council of Prime Ministers and Chief Ministers, because it is a maze of ministries and it's dependent on many other ministries. A good idea that came up from one of our members was a registered tourism service provider for a single central state unique ID for quality assurance. Could each one have a unique tourism ID? All tourism projects and plans must be based around sustainable design principles. As we move to value accretive regulation, our GST rates are perhaps the highest. We are saying, could it be brought down and rationalized at 10% with full set-offs? Travel credit for domestic travel and MICE. We looked at it that we had an outbound of 28 million. If we could incentivize, and much of this was MICE, if we could incentivize all this MICE that is going overseas to remain in India and hold their conferences in India, it would be a great boom for Indian tourism. A single window e-clearance for all projects. If we are to achieve 75 million tourists, we would need 1 million hotel rooms. Therefore, clearances are very, very important. We need a national seamless tourist transportation system, one India, one permit. Single source verified credit based hospitality and tourism skilling, nationally acceptable. Is there an online model possible where credit-based models can be created in skilling people in tourism in various aspects? We have a roadmap and a vision for this. And we believe that if we are to achieve our target, manpower would be of great importance, and training them, we need to find a very fast way of doing so. As an investment driver, set up 200 centers of excellence. Industrial rates in all states on utilities. For many of us, many states have given, it's a state subject, have given industry status, but tariffs such as electricity continue to be on commercial rates and not on industrial rates. Faith has recommended the setting up of 5 mega tourism zones. target almost 1 million new hospitality rooms. I did mention that. Tourism to be declared a critical socio-commercial infrastructure. Create last mile connectivity to all destinations, boosting their visitation attractiveness. Market excellence. We've broken up our targets into 5 or 6 segments where we believe that India has a potential. 10% would come from MICE, 20% would come from adventure, 30% would come from heritage, 20% would come from medical, 10% from niche, and 10% from Buddhism. This is how the numbers look. I'm not going to reflect too much on the numbers, but by segment, we have broken up how these numbers. We had requested, and the government has put in position global tourism brand ambassadors. We need a few more. INR 5,000 crores is what we expect as an annual average tourism expenditure by centre and states to market India. Double share of short haul. We need to double our share of short haul, and we showed the potential that exists in India in Asia Pacific, which gets 26% of global tourists inbound, and create a 12-month market of Indian tourism. How can we make India a 365-day tourism destination? What is the advantage India has in focus segments? I begin by adventure tourism. In 2017, it had a potential of 683 billion globally and expected to touch by 2026 $16,000 billion. India has significant geographical advantage owing to its rich and natural ecotourism resources. We have 70% of the Himalayas. We have a coastline of 7,000 kilometers. We speak more about that later. Amongst one of the 3 countries in the world with both hot and cold desert. 6th in terms of nationally recognized UNESCO heritage sites. We rank 10th in the total area under forest cover. And India, with its global ranking of 96 in 2020, ranks much lower than its neighbors, Bhutan at 14 and Nepal at 67. Now, if you were to see what India has and what our ranking is, just goes to show the opportunity that exists. India, the world has 535 million Buddhists as a population around the world. 1 million visited India in 2019, which is only 0.2% of the Buddhist population. We have many, many sites. The path of Buddha traverses through virtually the whole of India. If we look at cruise tourism, we have a coastline of 7,500 kilometers. There was a document prepared by the Maritime Vision 2030, which is today at a draft stage, with 27 action points of how India can increase the number of ships that do a port of call in India to nearly 1,000 from about 150 right now. Heritage tourism forms 37% of international tourism, is culturally motivated, and demand is estimated to be growing 15% annually. I'd like to read this statement out because it is so profound. The Asia Pacific region has been the birthplace for some of the world's major religions: Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and a great many minor others. The exchange of cultures through trade, conflict, war, migration, spread of religion, led by pioneers over thousands of years, has resulted in some of the most amazing historical monuments and a rich legacy of religious and cultural amalgamations. Therefore, reasons to travel: the emotional perception, be it educational sense of belonging or enjoyment, the cultural motivation or non-cultural motivators such as leisure, affordability of the country, or to just see new places. I move on to a segment which contributes nearly 1 trillion and a direct employment of 10.3, which is the MICE: meetings, incentives, conferences, exhibitions. India's landscape, we have 35,000 crore market here. India's MICE, which is without the exhibition, accounts for 22% of the market size. 65% are B2B events. Meetings and incentives form 74% of the entire MICE segment for 5-star properties. India's outbound market is one of the fastest growing markets globally. And that's why I said, is there an opportunity to incentivize and retain this within India? Pre-pandemic, projections pegged India's outbound luxury and MICE markets to touch US $45 billion by 2025. I move to wellness tourism. Wellness tourism in 2015 was 563 billion globally, moved to 693 billion. Although it reduced in 2020 to 436 billion, it still forms 10% of the overall global wellness economy, which is at 4.4 trillion in 2020. If you can focus your attention on the right, wellness tourism is the fastest growing segment of the global wellness economy at 20.9%. according to moving to medical tourism, which is a part of the wellness economy, it is expected to be 54.44 billion by 2020 and expected to cross 200 billion by 2027. Medical tourism is one of the fastest growing industries in the world with a CAGR of 21.1%. Developing countries are increasingly paying attention to technological advances in quality services in the medical and healthcare fields. India ranks well and is 10th in the MTI rankings. What is India's USP? We have reputed healthcare professionals. We have quality nursing. We have state-of-the-art medical facilities. We can fast-track visas without wasting time. And traditional healthcare therapies such as Ayush, etc., are available in India. The reason why India is a preferred choice or should be a preferred choice is that it offers world-class facilities and medical resources at nearly 1/10 of the cost compared to US and UK. This is an interesting segment that I think one needs to tap clearly. And we at Faith love the statement made by the Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. And I quote him, "Global poverty is astonishingly rural. If we really want to drive growth and development, we must look inside our cities and work together to help even the smallest community to take part in many and varied benefits tourism can bring." The UNWTO recommendation on tourism and rural development aims to support government at various levels, as well as private sectors and the international community in developing tourism in rural territories in a way to contribute to inclusive, sustainable, and resilient development. India has a great natural advantage in terms of rural tourism because 69% of India's population is rural and lives in our 650,000 villages. To conclude, our journey is to make Indian tourism a mainstream engine of socio-economic growth. Let's together create a shared vision of tourism between all our stakeholders, center, state, and industry. Can we move from the perception that tourism is an elitist activity to the fact that it can be an engine of economic growth for India? Let us all work together. And dear members of the press, we seek your assistance in spreading this word and creating an enabling environment to ensure that Indian tourism becomes of the people, for the people, and by the people, integrated seamlessly in all walks of our life circle. Let's empower and energize the length and breadth of India with tourism as its core engine. Let us have belief and faith in ourselves and together achieve our tourism vision goals, strategies, and policies. Faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. Quoted Rabindranath Tagore. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Nakul. Press, as Nakul rightly said, the Faith Associations had a meeting with Ministry of Tourism in line with the 2047 Vision Workshop. And as Faith, we shared with them a tourism vision of 100 million inbound tourists, 10 billion domestic tourism visits, and 100 million outbound tourism visits. So we believe our Vision 2035 is a step in the direction of achieving 2047 vision statement. Our PR partners would release to you the vision statement now that Nakul has just shared. And now I invite, in order, we will go and look at the presidents of our member associations. I would like to request the president of ADTY, Association of Domestic Tour Operators of India, Mr. P.P. Khanna, to share the vision and strategy for domestic tourism. PP, you're up, please. Thank you. Everyone, kindly switch off your mics. Kindly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish. Good morning, everybody. I, on behalf of the domestic tourism industry of India, I welcome the national press to our conference. Indian domestic tourism is already the second highest in the world with almost 2.3 billion domestic tourism visits, as stated by Mr. Anand also. On a medium to long-term basis, there should be the steps taken by Indian states in collaboration with one another and with the central government to double Indian domestic tourism higher than China, which is around 5 billion, as Mr. Anand also stated that there is no such data available with them. The GST on the tour operators should be 1.8 with full set-off. Currently, it is 5%, that too without set-offs, which implies tax on tax and defeats the purpose of GST. We must make available an income tax exemption on traveling within India to make domestic tourism part of mainstream Indian economy. This should ensure that Indian citizens can get income tax credits for up to 1.5 lakh when spending with GST registered domestic tour operators, travel agents, hoteliers, and transporters anywhere within the country for quick recovery in the post-COVID era. This also should be incentive Indian corporates to undertake domestic MICE meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. And to prevent Indian MICE events from going abroad, this needs to be enabled by offering a 200% weighted income tax expense benefit to Indian companies which are undertaking MICE events in India. This will not only fast-track revival, but will also enable Indian domestic tourism, which was at almost 2.3 billion domestic tourism, which to grow 3 to 4 times in the medium to long term. Each of our Indian states and union territories are unique and have the potential to create multiple tourism zones of excellence. We must, between center and states, jointly target up to 10 centers of tourism excellence in each state must be set up, going to almost 350 plus tourism centers of excellence in the country. These can leverage the Swadesh and Prasad scheme for effective tourism development. Tourism is completely only when there is full connectivity in each state between state capitals and tourism centers must be ensured. Though social high-speed Vista trains or Shatabdi or Rajdhani trains or full flight connectivity under Udan from each state's capital to the top 10 tourism destinations of each state. High-speed state highways need to be ensured on these networks of bus and car tourist transportation to move freely and fast. The journey begins today, but till full recovery happens, we must support our tourism employees and businesses. The government must extend an immediate direct wage support to the employees of all the pandemic affected domestic tourism, travel and hospitality companies till tourism businesses have recovered. This will ensure a critical social employment cover to such affected employees. The government must also offer an immediate one-time grant to the domestic tourism, travel and hospitality companies whose businesses have been severely affected due to the pandemic to enable them to settle their statutory liabilities, rentals, levies, and taxes. This will prevent such affected enterprises from going bankrupt. There need to be these and more concrete steps, both by the center and the state government, taken to organize the domestic travel trade industry going forward. On behalf of Domestic Tourism Industry of India, I, P.P. Khanna, the President of Association of Domestic Tour Operators of India, wish to thank the national press and all the tourism industry for joining in and wish you all safety and health. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
PB, thank you very much. I would like to now invite our next member, ATOAI, Association of Adventure Tour Operators of India, Mr. Tejbir Singh, who is the alternate board member from ATOAI to Faith and Vice Chairman of Faith. Tejbir, you're on. PP, kindly mute your mic, please. Everyone else, kindly mute your mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish, and good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, I welcome the national press to this conference. It's needless to say, and everyone knows about it, that India has the most unique natural heritage sites in the world. We have been rated by the World Economic Forum as the 5th best destination on the Natural Heritage Index, 6th in the world having UNESCO natural heritage sites, and 9th most competitive country in the natural and cultural tourism resources. We are a 12 months destination. We are an all seasons country. We are blessed being one of the 17 mega diverse countries in the world. Each state of India has the potential to become a center of excellence in natural and adventure tourism. India's natural diversity boasts of repositories such as having one of the youngest fold mountain ranges in the world, which are the Aravallis, custodians of 73% of the Himalayan range, with some of the highest peaks in the world, 7,500 kilometers of coastline for adventure, over 400 plus perennial and seasonal rivers, and inland waterways running over 8,000 plus kilometers, over 1,500 kilometers of backwaters and canals, over 5,000 square kilometers of mangrove forest cover. Our forest cover hosts 18 biosphere reserves, 551 wildlife sanctuaries, 104 national parks. We are home to 15 cat species of the world, 8% of the world mammals, 6% of the world's bird and flora life. We have both hot and cold deserts in this country, where the hot desert spreads over 70,000 square kilometers and the cold desert spreads over 1,20,000 square kilometers. And last but not the least, we have more than 4,700 wetlands and high altitude lakes in the Himalayan belt. Yet, in this $750 billion plus industry, adventure tourism industry, which is poised to touch over 1.5 trillion in the post-COVID world, India currently has a very negligible share. In the last ATDI index of 2020, India slipped by 10 positions from 86 to 96, which is concerning, and we need to pull up our socks. We look forward to working closely with the central and each of the state governments to move forward towards a vision to get at a respectable market share of 5 to 10% in the medium to long run in the world adventure tourism market, which commensurates with the natural assets. To move forward towards that journey, we have to undertake those steps beginning right today. What we need is a sustainable and responsible development plan around each vertical of natural heritage tourism, may it be air, water, or land adventures. These sustainable plans must be based on carrying capacities of the destinations framed around sustainable guidelines developed by our Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, which have also been adopted and recommended by the Ministry of Tourism. Adventure and natural heritage tourism happens in the remote hinterlands. We need to have a robust hub and spoke, all season, interconnectivity model across rail, air, road, and water, connecting all such destinations across the country. What is the vision? Our vision is to become one of the top 10 ranking nations in adventure tourism, and we must accordingly have enabling policy mechanisms such as organized search and rescue centers across the country, communication facilities via satellite phones for safety, supporting visa categories for all our adventure journeys so that coming into India should not be a problem. Global insurance policies, and much more. Most tourism activities are based on working with the local population in hinterlands and rural areas, which is basically the unorganized sector. Currently, all of them are unemployed with no work for the past more than 2 years. We need a robust social security mechanism effective immediately across the country on the lines of MNREGA for such tourism industry stakeholders. We need to be rightfully recognized as an export industry through schemes like SEIS with 10% duty credit in the new foreign trade policy, or zero rating in GST and also a 1.8% GST with full set up for our tour operators. We need a financial legislative mechanism to make adventure tourism activities bankable at royalty interest rates. The adventure tourism activities are based on natural assets and competencies and not on collateral assets. Thus, we need a different financing guarantee scheme. Finally, it's high time that we create a structured global awareness that India is a land of adventure and it should be promoted in that manner. And for that, we look forward to branding Indian adventure tourism through creating a sub-brand of our Incredible India campaign. Not only India has the potential to become the world capital of both soft and mainstream adventure experiences, but our natural heritage-based tourism can be co-bundled with multiple tourism products of meetings, conventions, heritage, education, and even luxury tourism. On behalf of Adventure Tourism of India, I, Tejbir Singh Anand, Alternative Board Member and Vice Chairman of FAITH, Executive Committee Member of Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, wish to express gratitude and thanks to the national press and all the tourism industry for joining it today. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Tejbir. Press, we now move on to FHRAI, Federation of Hotel Restaurant Association of India. And I invite Girish Oberoi, who is the alternate board member to FAITH from FHRAI and the treasurer of FAITH. Girish, you're up, please. Tejbir, if you mute yourself Everyone else, please stay muted. Tejbir, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
Mr. Roy, you need to unmute yourself.
Girish, are you in? We'll come back to Girish if
No, I
Girish
got
is.
it.
Okay.
I got it. So thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Federation of Hotels and Restaurant Association of India, FHRAI, I welcome the national press to this press conference. It's my proud privilege to introduce you to all to FHRAI, which is the apex body and voice of Indian hospitality industry. We are representing 55,000 hotels and 5 lakh restaurants spanning length and breadth of our vast country. FHRAI is also the third largest association in the world. Since its inception in 1955, the Federation has been playing a seminal role in the growth of Indian tourism sector. Tourism is one of the important sectors in the country that account for around 10% of the GDP and employing 90 million people. The tourism and hospitality industry in India carries an extensive potential to be the key driver to accelerate socio-economic development of the country. To achieve this, tourism should be declared as a priority sector in the country with special incentives and benefits to help the sector attain its true potential. Our vision is to make India the hospitality and cuisine capital of the world. To make this possible and to place India on the pivotal position on the global ecosystem, we need an enabling environment from state governments and central government. Foremost, hotels and restaurants across each state of India need to be declared and treated as an industry. Unlike commercial establishments, we don't just retail. We create and produce high quality service. Power and water utility rates must be at industrial rates effectively. GST rate for hospitality in India are one of the highest in the world. This makes both domestic and inbound tourism in India expensive. The 18% GST category for hotels above room rates of 7,500 must be abolished and merged with category of 12% GST. Gradually, it should be brought down further to 10% with full set-offs in line with global trends. Restaurants too have 18% and 5% slab, which is without set-off. The 18% category to be abolished, and there needs to be an option made available of GST at 12% with full set-offs. Additionally, there needs to be no linkage to room tariffs above 7,500 as it currently exists. Fuel and power costs, liquor license fee, property taxes are all various forms of very high cost input indirect cost on hotels and restaurants. These needs to be made available as an input cost set off for GST to truly make us one country, one tax. This will make our hotels and restaurants truly cost effective and will stimulate demand. E-single window clearance at national level should be enabled for hotels and restaurants through Hospitality Development Promotion Board, and all existing licenses, permits, permissions must be thoroughly examined for duplication and standardized at national level. This will bring down the cost of pre-opening and also annual cost of compliances and make us more globally competitive. For sectors like hospitality, which is highly capital intensive business, where running costs are too high and margins are shrinking every passing day. In such a scenario, access to credit facility at affordable rates and compliances remain a big problem for the industry. Tax incentives, tax holidays for developers setting up tourism projects should be provided to promote tourism sector growth in the country in a big way. One of the key corrections which are important for revival of hospitality is attracting domestic MICE tourism. However, hotel needs to be able to levy IGST to enable them to give GST credits to Indian corporates who do interstate events and do not take these events international. This will streamline the complete GST chain and boost interstate corporate MICE demand for hospitality. Liquor excise policies have also become more pragmatic in states. They have to take cognizance to the number of days the restaurants or bar is open today. They should not have any hikes, and installment-based payment should be permitted by states. Any state which has increased the liquor excise fee should roll it back immediately, considering the past 23 months. Like in Europe, also in USA, it is also critical to permit our restaurants across all states to utilize their open spaces, which is not only COVID preventive, but also help to revive demand in new settings. Today, hospitality covers both conventional and also alternate accommodations such as bed and breakfast, guest houses, short-term rentals, and so on. It is thus crucial to ensure that there is a level playing field in terms of compliances and entry requirement among all segments of accommodation providers. India is perhaps the only country in the world where hospitality and accommodation products can be created around diverse segments of tourism, be it adventure, pilgrimage, heritage, MICE, forest, cruise, hill accommodation, sports, etc. It is also widely believed that in India, cuisine changes every 300 square kilometers. That would make India perhaps the most unique country with an estimated 1,000 regional and hyper-local cuisines, reflecting the diversity of India's geography, history, and culture. Together, our hospitality and cuisine concepts can create tourism advantages unique to India. Also, according to ICRA report, 74% of hospitality sector companies are having negative credit profiles to face downgrading, etc. Due to the impact of COVID, tourism and hospitality has been one of the first and the worst hit sectors due to the pandemic, with consecutive 3 waves derailing the industry's recovery. Hence, it is imperative the sector should be extended with better credit facilities to help it survive presently and get ready for the big leap when the normalcy comes back to the sector. We are just about to emerge from the darkest moments, and the turbulence and distress due to pandemic being the worst hit industry. The hospitality and restaurants have been constantly in dialogue with central and state governments. We earnestly hope that state governments and central government will enable a lot of these policies to revive hotels and restaurants to enable us to move forward with our vision. On behalf of Hotel and Restaurant Industry of India, I, Girish Oberoi, former President, Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association, and Treasurer Faith, would like to thank the national press and all the tourism industry for joining in and wish you all safety and good health. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Girish. Can I request you to mute your mic, please? I would like to invite Indian Association of Tour Operators, President Rajiv Mehra and Honorary Secretary of Faith. Rajiv, you're up next, please. Everyone else, kindly mute your mic, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the inbound tourism industry of India, I welcome you all to this very important press conference. In 2019, pre-COVID, Indian inbound tourism recorded 17.8 million people plus international travelers to India. Out of these, 6.8 million plus were Indians visiting their friends and relatives, and the balance 10.9 million plus foreign tourist arrivals. In the pre-COVID period, India had a global size of 1.2% international travel. This is not compensate with the size and scope of India can offer. In the post-COVID period, our vision is to double India's share of inbound tourism to 2.5% in the medium term, post-normal, and then double it again to more than 5% in the medium long, post that. This will rightfully put India tourism in the global in the global league where it belongs. But that journey begins today, and today the inbound tourism industry is grasping for survival since the last 23 months. With all key source markets such as North America and West Europe just showing signs of just emerging from the severe grasp of COVID, we do not see a full resumption to inbound tourism till October 23-24, and that too is conditional upon no further variants and subsequent introduction of preventive, though deliberating measures by the government of India and other source and emerging markets. To survive till then, the inbound tour operators need to have an operating cash subsidy to pay salaries and operating costs as as had been effectively done in other countries. In the new foreign trade policy, which is being planned, a duty credit similar to the earlier SIS rate should be made effective at 10% for the next 10 years. The inbound tourism, which earns foreign exchange, needs to be treated at par with mechanized exports and need to be zero rate on GST. Well, if not, the GST on tour operators should be 1.8% with full set-off, which is calculated as 18% on a 10% margin. Currently at 5%, that too without set-offs, it effectively comes to 18% or a 38% margin, which is penal. This has made Indian travel one of the most expensive globally. Withdrawal of tax collection at source for the foreign tourist and extended 5 lakh free visas till March 2024, so that we are all well recovered and India caters effectively to the global tourists. The commercial flights need to resume in full to ensure affordable fares for the multiple entry tourist visa need to be effectively issued. The policy of free e-visa should be extended to 2024 or till full resumption of inbound tourism happens. We are confident that the Indian tourism is next global champion sector for India, and the road to that vision begins by surviving and reviving today. On this note, I thank the Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in particular, for revising the guidelines for international travel. Travelers arriving in India, well, as they say, well begun is half done. Dear members of the media, my address to you echoes the recommendation of the Parliamentary Committee regarding two major facts. Rationalization of taxes to make India more competitive as a destination in the formation of packages by the stakeholders, marketing India overseas in a more efficient and effective manner. On behalf of the inbound tourism industry, I, Rajiv Mehra, the President of the Indian Association of Tour Operators and Honorary Secretary of Faith, wish to thank the national press and all the tourism industry for joining in and wish you and your family all safety and health. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Rajiv, thank you. Rajiv made a reference to the parliamentary committee. As you're all aware, or probably not, faith associations deposed before the parliamentary committee, and we were assured by the parliamentary committee that they would take it up with the government. As Rajiv rightly said, we are very thankful to them that they have taken it up and identified all the issues and even the targets that we had requested them to set with the government. Thank you very much, Rajiv. I would now like to invite Indian Heritage Hotel Association, Mr. Randhir Vikram Singh, President, to share his thoughts, please. Randhir, you're up, please. Rajiv, can you go on mute, please? Everyone else, kindly go on mute.
Thank you, Ashish. On behalf of the Heritage Tourism Industry of India, I welcome national press to our conference. Indian Heritage Hotel Association of India represents a unique travel experience in our country. Example, heritage hotels which give a new lease of life to buildings like forts, castles, palaces, hunting lodges, and traditional havelis or period buildings. Each member hotel offers a distinct experience that reaches into the rich culture, history, and heritage of India. Membership of this association signifies that the property has a certain authentic character of the period and the location. The members of this prestigious association enhance the cultural preservation, traditional crafts, fairs, and festivals. The exception basket of activities and experiences preserve and showcase the essence of India. India has one of the most unique heritages in the world going back more than 10,000 years. Our tourist vision for 2035 and beyond in the heritage tourism segment is to target must be minimum 10 million to 30 million heritage foreign tourists. At the same time, our young and upcoming generation must connect with our rich past, Thus, the target for domestic heritage tourism visit of heritage must be 1 billion to 3 billion. Our ultimate tourism goal is for India's rank to be #1 globally in heritage tourism. To enable these targets, the following critical actions must be put in place immediately. We must, between center and state, jointly target 3 centers of tourism excellence focused around heritage tourism. Each state must be set up, going up to almost 100 in the country. There must be a heritage tourism board, which must be set up with representatives of all states and center in coordination with IHHA to synchronize and standardize heritage tourism policies. Heritage tourism is a highly unique combination of tourists, arts, architecture, heritage, culture, rural management, and hospitality. Thus, all the efforts must be made at both center and state levels to ensure that at least 1 crore skilled tourism, travel, and hospitality employees in heritage tourism itself have been trained, delivered the goal that we are setting for. There has to be a distinct identity of heritage tourism. It's very critical to launch and market both global heritage tourism sub-brand to the main brand of Incredible India. Heritage tourism is incomplete without the connectivity. Connectivity in each state must be ensured through special high-speed Vista trains for each state capital to at least 5 heritage destinations of each state. Public-private partnership through our Adopt a Heritage scheme must be fast-tracked across all states and monuments, sites, and soft heritage to ensure widespread of private participation in heritage tourism. Both income tax incentives and GST concession must be given to tourism enterprises which restore and revive broken, lost heritage monuments of India. All of these will put our heritage tourism in the right place to achieve our vision for our goal. On behalf of the Heritage Tourism Industry of India, I, Randeep Vikram Singh, President of the Indian Heritage Hotels, wish to thank the national press and all the tourism industry for joining and wishing you all a safe and healthy future. Jai Hind, thank you very much.
Thank you, Randir. We were going alphabetically, and I think I got my alphabets wrong. So it was ICPB earlier. So I would like to invite Amrish, Vice Chairman ICPB, to share his thoughts. Amrish, you're on, please. Apologies for the error. Thanks.
No worries, Assis. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the India Convention Promotion Bureau, I welcome the national press to our press conference. The global MICE industry is estimated to be upwards of $800 billion US. In India's share in this is pre-COVID estimated less than 1%. In fact, the MICE sector has the strongest direct correlation to the GDP more than any other tourism sector. Thus, our first objective post-COVID in medium term would be to double our MICE share to 2.5% of the world and then doubling it over medium to long term. In the Global International Congress Association ranking, our goal would be to take India's rank to the top 10 in the world from 28 where we are presently. We will also request central and state government to aim to benchmark the MICE infrastructure of our Indian cities to the top global MICE cities. Pre-COVID, we had 1 city in the top 100 rank. Our goal must be to having 3 Indian cities in the top 100 in the medium term post-COVID and 6 to 10 cities in the top 100 medium to long term, as our chairman Faith addressed. We need to recognize MICE tourism as a distinct business segment and create MICE India brand, a sub-brand to the main brand Incredible India, that is Meet in India brand. This need to be aggressively marketed worldwide. We must target global congress, convention and conferences and social events. We need to create a global MICE bidding fund with a corpus of 500 crore to enable our entrepreneurs undertake techno-economic bids for events which have a bid cycle of 2 years plus. We need to create city convention bureaus in each of our main cities which will work with the ICPB as the hub to carry out global bidding activities. Industry status to MICE infrastructure by states so that convention centers and hotels, this will enable power and utility rates levies at industrial rates among other benefits. Infrastructure status for financing of MICE infrastructure. Currently, this is available only at 3-star and above hotels located outside the cities with population of 1 million and above. Institutional support for MICE event. ICPB as a bureau act an agent, representative, marketer, leader, and coordinator for MICE industry. Market intelligence is another important aspect. The Ministry of Tourism need to work with the states to develop data collection and analysis mechanism for MICE industry. In the post-COVID era, we also need to incentive Indian corporate to undertake domestic MICE and to prevent Indian MICE events from growing abroad, which is 26.5 million. For that, we need to offer a 200% weighted income tax expense benefit to Indian companies which are undertaking MICE event outside India to bring them back to the country. We need to enable iGST for our hotels, which will complete the end-to-end GST chain, and companies get GST set up for companies undertaking MICE even in states other than their state of registration. Also, our GST rates are one of the highest in the world. And to revive, we should move immediately to a 12% GST for all MICE-related events with full set-off and gradually below 10% in the medium to full set-off. And all the international participants, they must get their IGST at least refund back. Of this special tourism zone being planned by tourism industry, we look forward to a mega tourism zone which should be fully integrated world-class MICE city. As the MICE become order of the day, we look forward to each state recognizing this and support both physical and hybrid MICE activities on a structured and financial basis. Indian tourism has globally unique cultural phenomena. Between all states collaboratively and center, we must ensure that Indian MICE has the unique advantage of being bundled with the natural and cultural assets of India. On behalf of the meeting, incentive, conference, and exhibition industry of India, I, Amresh Tiwari, the Vice Chairman of India Convention Promotion Bureau, wish to thank all the national press and all the tourism industry for joining us and wishing you all health, safety, and well wishes. Thank you.
Amrish, thank you very much. We move to the next vertical of tourism, and this is Indian Tourism Transporter Association. I would like to invite Sharat Chandra, Treasurer, to share his thoughts, please. Sharat, you're up. Everyone else, kindly mute your mics. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Tourist Transportation Industry of India, I welcome the National Press Global Conference. Tourist transportation is the backbone of domestic and inbound tourism. Globally, in all countries, stable and uniform policies for tourist transportation have stimulated growth. Between center and state, we should aim to provide a seamless, safe, and memorable driving experience across the lengths and breadths of India for national tourism, state tourism, and city tourism. We need to become seamless in our tourist transportation procedures, and the need of the hour is to formalize a uniform interstate road tax policy payable at a single point, which will facilitate the ease of doing business. This will also prevent queues for paying toll taxes at any places in India, whether for NHAI, private toll operators, or municipal corporations of any state. The renewal of all India tourist permits, local permits, fitness for new cars, all need to become paperless. As a solution, authorized dealerships of respected manufacturers should be allowed for issuing valid fitness certificates. The provision for this is already provided in the Motor Vehicle Act 1989, and the government has already issued the notification to this effect. To ensure that Indian tourist transporters are unable to provide world-class services, permission must be provided for import of tourist vehicles under EPCG by tourism service exporters. Special priority should be given for import of electrical vehicles to suit the tourism industry at zero custom duty, which would also help to fulfill green project of the Indian government. Last mile connectivity is again an important issue. Proper connecting roads should be created to monuments and places of tourist interest, along with proper lighting and multilingual signages. Group tourism must be encouraged instead of individual private cars or taxi movement. And all the state governments need to collectively arrive at solution for this. They must collectively open up all stage carrier permits for free interstate movements. Along with this, they also need to enable special yearly passes for tourist buses for free interstate movements. To make use of our highways, increase of speed limit for buses to 90 kilometers per hour on all expressways and national highways must be enabled, which is currently 65 kilometers per hour. Revised speed limits on these roads should be implemented, as MoRTH has already issued notification to this effect. Parking is a structural issue which needs to be addressed to handle group tourism in all the cities. Multi-level parking for tourist buses in all our cities and key tourist destinations must be made available. As a solution, tourist corporation bus depots must be explored to make multi-level parking. We need to have one country, one GST. It is critical to make available all costs of tourist transportation for GST set-offs. These includes interstate taxes, tolls and parkings, fuel and taxes, all of which exceed almost 40% of our gross cost of operations, which are charged to the clients and have the cascading effect on the prices. GST should not be applicable on the forex earnings of tourist transportation. Since tourist transporters are not directly earning foreign exchange, they are earning convertible foreign exchange. And so these convertible foreign exchange earnings should be considered for this purpose. It should also be reduced on purchase of buses from 28% to 18% to encourage group tourism. Frontline people, our drivers, who are the most important component of the tourist transportation experience, full due respect to the driver of buses and cars must be extended as civil citizens and not treated with a panel mindset by the enforcement agencies. Special training classes for chauffeurs to handle high-end foreign and domestic tourists must be undertaken to encourage premium travel. Implementation of all this will ensure survival of tourist transporters and movement towards our vision of creating a seamless tourist experience. On behalf of the tourist transportation industry of India, I, Sharat Chandra, the Treasurer of Indian Tourist Transporters Association, wish to thank the national press and the entire tourism industry for joining in and wish you all safety and good health. Jai Hind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharath. We will now move on to Travel Agent Association of India. And I would like to invite Ms. Jyoti Mayal, President of TAI and Vice Chairman of Faith. Jyoti, you're up, please. Thank you. Everyone else, kindly mute your mics.
Thank you, Ashish. Namaskar and a very good afternoon to all. On behalf of the Principal and Nodal Association of Travel Agents Tourism in India, TAI, I welcome the National and Trade Press to the Faith Conference. The Indian industry will undergo a radical change in the post-COVID era, and with the vision, I would state that we at TAI see a great opportunity of the Indian travel and tourism becoming one of the biggest travel opportunities globally over the medium to long term, and have been in close discussions with the tourism ministry and can visualize exciting new segments of tourism emerging from urban to rural, leisure to business, hills to beaches, charters to cruises, adventure to wellness, weddings to culture, and not forgetting sustainability with inclusiveness, and thus look forward to creating multiple opportunities for the travel agents community together. There's a disruption happening from online technologies, and travel is the first to be increasingly impacted and will need to be acted upon to create combination of online and offline models and also protect our fraternity from fly-by-night operations. Framing of tourism-focused policies is a must, and we are moving in the right direction by developing a vision for 2035. However, we must not forget that such visions should include both long-term and short-term goals. Rather, we can call it our vision and mission for the tourism industry. COVID has been learning with devastation. It has brought us back to the basics that a more holistic and integrated approach is much needed. Otherwise, collapse of the tourism industry is inevitable. We have to move from the this too shall pass approach to a more constructive approach of having funds in hand, medical emergencies, more trained teams, and extensive use of technology for running our businesses. On the same lines, I'm sharing a 2-point approach that must be adopted to draft the said document to enable to make India the largest hub of aviation and tourism. We just cannot afford to miss this opportunity again. One, in the capacity of President Tai and also as Vice Chairperson of FAITH, I would like to convey that all of us should come forward to get the common issues addressed first. Industry status and infrastructure status, drafting and implementation of standardized guidelines and protocols, human resource management vis-a-vis brain drain, access to finance and working capital. Entire tourism, including the hospitality industry, is facing these common problems, and we integrate these with Vision 2035. Then it would certainly lead to the development of highways to success. Going by the past practices, and why I'm referring to the above points is because we have tackled similar challenges with collective efforts such as better taxation regime, availability of tourism sector specific schemes, and above all, having a more robust and modern education system for our industry, be it from ITTM, IHMs, or skill councils. We have to ensure significant component of reskilling and upskilling of travel agents fraternity. Second, in addition, I would like to highlight the issues faced by the travel trade. These are issues faced by the agents, operators, and travel trade facilitators. GST input credits as hotels and other services allowed to charge IGST, which should enable seamless availability of credit across states for travel agents and tour operators. Tour operators to be enabled for a special presumptive GST rate of 1.8% with full GST set-offs. Travel agents to be allowed the option of exploring the reseller model for charging on airline tickets. A key requirement is to make Indian travel agents globally competitive. We, along with the government, have to ensure that TCS on outbound travel is not levied. Most importantly, effectiveness and protection of our travel agents from airlines, which is a US $16 billion industry and was poised to be the third biggest by 2020 and largest by 2030. We need an Indian-based statutory body and not depend on IATA according to our work environment. Set up an underwriting fund for protection of travel agents and tour operators, as has been repeatedly seen in case of collapse of aviation. Travel agents and also passengers need to be protected. A structured mechanism to future secure payments to ensure that we create security for our travel agents and operators' survival. Travel agents' payments to principals is unsecured credit, and we need to ensure that a form of structured mechanism, whether an escrow, insurance, or guarantee or underwriting-based mechanism is in place to ensure that travel agents and tour operators vis-a-vis the passengers also money stays secure. The above are recurring issues, and all of us associations have put forward our points. However, important is to address them or be a part of the drafting teams in which such changes are introduced. And if it does not favor us, they must be rejected at the outset. Also, as part of the movement towards the vision, we have to increasingly partner with multiple country tourism boards to collaborate with the Indian travel agents fraternity and expand country opportunities for them. We have tried to survive over this pandemic, and now we must begin the revival journey and continue to build trust and confidence to deal with the challenges today in the post-COVID era as we move towards our vision. On behalf, once again, from the Travel Agents Industry of India, as Jyoti Mayal, the President of Travel Agents Association of India and Vice Chairperson, FAITH, I'd like to thank all the press present here, the national and the entire tourism industry for joining in and wish everyone safety and health. But to conclude, I wish to say that let us join hands to have a mechanism in place which helps to draft policies for the Indian tourism industry. For I strongly believe in one country, one tourism, one tax. And I also state the pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow. For every challenge encountered, there is opportunity for growth. Thank you once again, and team, thank you and namaskar.
Thank you, Jyoti. We move on to our last vertical, and I would like to invite Ajay Prakash, our Travel Agent Federation of India President. Ajay, please.
Thank you, Ashish. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Indian Travel Agents Fraternity, I welcome the national and the trade press to our conference. Times are changing, business models are changing, the travelers too are changing, and we need to keep pace. The pandemic has forcefully driven home the reality that it's a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In 2019, we were all smiling. With 11 million inbound tourists, close to 30 million outbound, and over 2 billion domestic tourists. Who could have anticipated the devastation that 2020 and 2021 would bring? Business took a nosedive, cash flows became negative, refunds were hard to come by, and the industry struggled to stay afloat. The travel agents are among the worst affected by this pandemic. But as we see the light emerging at the end of the tunnel, as we build back in 2022 and look to the future, our primary vision for the travel agent fraternity is to first ensure their security and their protection, while making efforts to identify opportunities for business expansion, enabling them to provide the best tourism experiences. But no future is safe till our present is safe. Aviation forms the backbone of the tourism industry, but airlines were hit equally hard, and some of them went belly up. So unlike agents who give a financial guarantee to IATA before they're allowed to issue tickets, travel agents get no corresponding guarantee from airlines, with the result that in the event of an airline collapse, not only travel agents, but even travelers' monies are held to ransom. We had the situation where the Supreme Court had to step in to mandate refunds. This is not a situation that we can live with. So we have been in talks with the government to try and devise a mechanism which protects travelers and travel agents' monies, whether by way of a guarantee, whether by way of escrow, whether a system of pay as you fly. We're hopeful that we should be able to get some traction on this with the government. The other issue that has plagued us is irrational taxation, which inhibits growth. This needs to be addressed if we are to achieve the ambitious targets that our chairman of FAITH, Mr. Nakul Anand, put before you. The GST structure needs a major rethink because currently it imposes a tax upon tax. There's a multiple tax component on the same end product, a tour package, with no offset credit. This needs to be remedied and remedied fast. The tax collection at source, or TCS, which has been talked about, has just made us more totally uncompetitive. The Indian businesses have become 5 to 10% more expensive as compared to an overseas service provider offering an identical product. We talk about Udan, Uday Desh Ka Aam Nagarik. But for that to happen, airfares need to be affordable. And one way of doing that is to bring ATF under the ambit of GST. This is a long-standing plea of the trade, along with the demand to accord infrastructure or industry status to tourism. Another suggestion that TAFE has made, which would significantly increase inbound tourism, is to create a combined visa for India and the neighboring countries, just like the Schengen visa. This would significantly grow the pie because apart from Bangladesh, our biggest inbound markets involve long-haul travel. The opportunity to combine a trip to India with a visit to our friendly neighbors would tangibly increase inbound numbers. But these are issues that have been talked about by the previous presidents. So moving on from the things that need fixing to enunciating a vision for the future evolution and development of tourism, one thing is clear. No matter how much technology may evolve, you know, the much anticipated bullet train and the Hyperloop could well be passé 20 years from now, and people could just be teleporting like the Star Wars beam me up Scotty situation. But people will travel. To travel and explore is an innate human need, and that's why tourism is such a resilient business and travel agents are such a resilient lot, because they fulfill that basic need for people to connect. The tourism offers, as well as the travelers of 2035, are going to be nothing like the traveler of today. Just this morning, you must have read that Virgin Galactic has opened bookings for flights into space at $450,000. But regardless of who travels, where, and how, it is abundantly clear that sustainability has to be at the heart of rebuilding the tourism industry. And India, with a rich culture and heritage, as a repository of ancient wisdom, can take a lead globally. Yoga and Ayurveda are just two of the amazing streams of wisdom that India has offered to the world. Sarv-Dharma Sambhav is another. Going beyond commerce, tourism is about bringing people together. transcending the boundaries of nationality, race, color, customs, or beliefs, about overcoming prejudice, about realizing the common humanity that unites us all, about discovering that this beautiful planet, which is the only home that the human race has known, and which is crying out to us to save it from us. Our forests are being hacked. They're being burnt. Our rivers and oceans are flooded with garbage. Our glaciers are melting. It is estimated that 3 species disappear every hour. We have to use the positive power of tourism to reverse these trends. And that is the vision of tourism that we have for 2035 or 2047 or the next millennium. Tourism as a force for good. It has the power to promote peace, to heal wounds of conflict, to eliminate poverty, to promote gender equality and equitable development, to make, in short, the world a better place. Science will find a way to contain carbon emissions. We, as practitioners of travel and tourism, need to believe that we have the power to change the world. On behalf of the Travel Agents Fraternity of India, I, Ajay Prakash, President of the Travel Agents Federation of India, wish to thank the National and the Trade Press and the entire tourism industry for joining us today. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Ajay. Can I request everyone to keep their mics off now? We should now move to the Q&A session, and we will take questions one by one. Can I request you to raise your hands, and I request Kapil Jinkan from the Fate Office to guide us as to whose hands are raised. We will take one question from each participant, and then we'll come back to you in case you have another question. Kapil, who is the first one, please? If you direct a question to me, I'll redirect to the right person.
Sure, please. At the moment, no hands have been raised. The moment hands are raised, I'll let you know.
Kindly identify who all would like to ask questions and to whom would you have any questions if you have.
No hands have been raised still.
I think.
Yeah, one. Mr.
One
Rohit
hand
Kaul
has-
has raised.
Yeah, Rohit Kaul has raised his hand.
Hello.
Yes, Rohit.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Rohit Kaul. I'm from Travel Trade Insider. My question is that traditionally, the Indian inbound, the key markets, source markets have been long haul, the European market, the US market, and what we are seeing at present is a lot of international travelers are preferring to travel short haul. So considering this, and this is the trend that people expect in the future too. Considering this, how is India positioned to to tap the short haul market? Which are the key market that India can look at, and is the trade ready? Do we have the product that short haul markets that can attract the short haul markets? Anyone who thinks can answer this? Maybe the I2 president.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, Rajiv, please.
Yeah. The position is that as far as the short haul is concerned, yes, it will happen soon. Short haul or long haul, what I have heard or from people or our members is the bookings will be coming within a month's time or two, not in 6 months in advance. So whether it is short haul or long haul, the bookings will come within a span of 30 days maximum till situation is normal, for which our members are ready to service the international tourist. Short haul, there are some countries which are still closed, but long haul places like Europe or UK or USA are all totally open now, and the relaxations are there on all sides now. So I'm very confident that the business will come in. And as I said, the duration of the booking received by our members would be less now presently, and but the bookings will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager.
Rajiv. Nakul, would you want to share a thought on the short haul versus long haul?
No, I think Rajiv has covered it, but I think there are dual thoughts on this. On one hand, there is an opportunity which is short haul, because people say that we've seen that Asia Pacific, I showed you the potential, and we've got data to say that there's $30-40 billion lying there if India was to even get 10% of the share, and this would be short haul. And within short haul, I think China has been overexposed. India would be a great source of inspiration for people, would be a great destination to come to. There's another school of thought that says that over the years, over the 2.5 years, the world has changed, right? People have got more money, and many people are going to do, this is the year of the goat, which is the greatest of all trips, right? So there's pent up demand, and people are going to take longer trips, but to a single destination. So that's another school of thought. I think it's going to be a combination of both. Rajiv is absolutely right. Initially, you're going to see short haul, but over a period, over 6-7 months, you're going to see long haul also opening up, and people coming for longer durations and to explore a destination and be there for a long time, because this is what pent-up demand is all about. Larger income that they have, larger amounts of money that they have saved, 2-3 years that they've deprived themselves, and they'd like to complete their bucket list as quickly as possible.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes,
Miss
Nisha Verma.
Hello, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes, yeah.
It's a great vision document by Faith, and I would like to know how closely right now, you're working with the government to make this a reality, especially with a lot of facets have been covered, including cruise tourism as well as Buddhist tourism. So what are the sectors in which you have a go ahead with the government, or you are working on something tangible with the government already?
Sure, thank you. Because this question covers multiple aspects of our different verticals, I would go around the table. We can start off with Nakul. Nakul, if you have a thought, or then we'll go around the table to other presidents.
No, I think that these are the areas. I think each one of these areas, and if you were to look at, and one of the things that I didn't cover extensively was that the government has prepared a national draft tourism policy, right? After that, there are draft tourism policies on medical tourism. There's a document on Buddhist tourism. So there's one on MICE tourism, etc. Each one of these, there is a fairly extensive document that the government has prepared in line or in association with members of our association, etc. So I think one cannot take a single pronged attack. One has to take a multi-pronged attack. We've seen that India is a land of opportunities. We are just about 1% of the world tourism share. We have natural resources and blessed which are under 15 in ranking, but our overall ranking is 34. Therefore, if we are to achieve our vision, which we've set at 75, which the members collectively worked on for 2035, we have to attack it from multiple areas, a multi-pronged attack. And therefore, these were the 7 or 8 areas that we identified. And I think in each one of them, there is already a progress made. Another way forward would be if rather than you would have one national tourism task force, could you break it up into individual tourism task force, one for adventure tourism, one to this, one for this, etc., and address all these. So I think there are multiple thoughts, but I think work in progress. And each one of these is not that we've come up with something. Even on rural tourism, there is a policy document by the government. So each one of these is extensively covered. And I think it's just a matter of sort of getting our act together and make sure these policies and these documents don't remain in paper. And let's begin to measure output rather than input and create results.
Thanks, Nakul. Nisha, since the question covers about the interaction with the government on different policies, I will quickly go on the table and ask different presidents. PP, do you have a quick thought on the intervention with the government? Tejveer, do you have any thoughts that you would like to share on the interactions with the government on each of these aspects that you mentioned?
Yeah, so Ashish, we already had a round of interaction with the government. We did go and meet Mr. Rupinder Barar, and we have already taken up some issues pertaining to similar questions. So the National Task Force on Adventure is already in talks, and it has been revived after I think 4 years. So that's a great step forward. We've already spoken to her regarding safety standards and implementation of our safety guidelines by all the states, because we can't live in isolation. It's one India, one country. So each state and each union territory need to adopt the safety guidelines which have been formulated by Adventure Tour Operators Association, even the recognition process. So we have requested them that whatever recognition process is there at the center just needs to be, duplicated by all the states. So rather than inventing their own wheel, depending on the geographical destinations and the sports that they can offer, they just need to tweak the document and take it up. So if we have a country where we have more of the organized sector, more people applying for the recognitions across the country, adopting the safety guidelines, I think it's a great, great era we are looking at. And regarding vis-a-vis marketing, we've when we requested her about that, there have not been many collaterals on adventure tourism promoting India as an adventure destination. So because when you close your eyes and you think of India, only the cultural image, still comes in, and the adventure does not. Even after having a huge list, which we just shared with the House, that India is so strong on its natural and cultural resources. So I think the response was pretty positive. There's already a movie which is just being rolled out on adventure tourism. It's just around 30 seconds or so. So it should be going around globally on all the social media platforms, digital platforms, etc. So we did get a good response. If that can answer the question, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejbir. Nisha, we have other presidents I would like to ask for this response, but we'll come back to this question shortly. We have Krishna Kumar. Krishna, would you like to ask a question? And Nisha will come back to your question immediately after we have done with others. Everyone else can mute, please.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you. My question is basically to understand because you are releasing a vision document, but how, because there's no tourism happening now, so we cannot base our vision on the past achievements now. So it's going to be a different world altogether. So the vision document, I think you have prepared as with the mindset that I think if we open India tomorrow, the destination will start from 10.5 million tourists that we had in the pre-COVID era. So we cannot take a calculation like that and prepare a vision document. So how realistic? So long-term target like 75 million from actually a 0.0. Now we are at a 0.0. So from there, by 2035, achieving just 75 million. What's the rationale behind this whole vision? So I think we should have put a vision like how to prepare the destination for future, because the travel and travelers will be totally different after the post pandemic. So is kind of calculations and fixing a target in terms of figures, growth and all that, is it practical and is it achievable?
Thank you, Krishna. Nakul, would you like to take that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Krishna. Valid question, but let me tell you, before we started two qualifications. One is we took our baseline as 2019. We didn't take our baseline as 2021 or 22. We didn't. Number two, we took into account all the present trends that are there and are going to be in the post-COVID world, right? We spoke about sustainability. We spoke about people wanting adventure tourism. We spoke about experiences that people would like, be it in a heritage hotel or whatever it is, be it in a national park, right? We combined all these together in putting together our document. We are optimistic that there is pent-up demand, right? I mentioned to you that all indications show that many surveys that I have read, whether it be by National Geographic, etc., the first thing that people want to do when the world opens up is travel. That's what they've been deprived of, right? So I think that the amount of pent-up demand that is waiting to happen is phenomenal. We've seen what's happened. We've seen what happened to hill stations in the last 1 or 2 months when things began to ease out before the Omicron came, right? Similarly, everybody has on their bucket list travel as their first priority, etc. So I have absolutely no doubt that travel, before we know it, as soon as the economy, as soon as the world opens up, we realize that vaccination has sort of taken the fear away. The virus has died down, an actual death or settled down like a mere flu, etc. We have absolutely no doubt. The new components, very carefully selected. If you looked at what we did with Adventure, there are people who have realized that God is important. So therefore you see religious tourism like Buddhist tourism, etc. People have realized that earlier, in the pre-corona time, people believed that the absence of being sick, right, was being healthy. Today it is not that. It's all about immunity, right? It's all about how people don't talk of lifespan, but they talk of health span. How many years then? Therefore, wellness tourism. Who's better poised for that than India? In our past lies our future. Everything that the world is saying today about immunity, it lies in our habits, it lies in our food. It is scripted in the Vedas. We have Ayurveda, we just name it. So I think that India has a great potential. Each of these segments has been thought of. And I think if we work towards it, me and my colleagues, each one of them who's worked very hard on this document, believe it's a very, very realistic document.
Thank you, Nakul. Krishna, I would like to add to the point that you had mentioned specifically. Every country is at a zero base today. It's not just India. Every country is at a zero base of tourism. So how do we move forward? Do we wait for tourism to start and then have a number in mind? We always have to have what we have done in the past and put an estimate or a stretch number of what is it that we want to continue to achieve. And as you rightly said, the face and the character of the traveler has changed. And as you would have heard practically across all the 10 speeches, the vision of each of the association recognizes the fact that there's a new demographic in town, the way they are consuming tourism. And once we lay as the whole industry associations together, that this is the kind of traveler we are looking at, that will be a pull factor for the states to move forward. And accordingly align their destination, their products and their practices. Thank you, Krishna, for your question. Priyanka, your question please now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, let me compliment Faith and the member associations for putting together an extremely comprehensive Vision 2035. However, given where we stand today, can you chalk out to immediate action that the industry, the travel industry and not the government, the two immediate actions that the travel industry can undertake at the moment to make India inch closer to the vision that you have chalked for 2035? If Mr. Anand perhaps can answer this. Thank you.
Jyoti, would you like to take that question first?
No, you can go ahead, please do. No worries.
So I think everything that we have said is both a combination of private and none of it is what we've said is a bucket list of things that we need to do, right? What are we recommending? We are recommending a vision document. We are recommending steps for it to happen. We are saying that, let me take an example of the hotel industry, right? If you need to achieve this 75 million tourists, you would need hotel rooms. If you need hotel rooms, you would require at least 1 million more rooms. You would require infrastructure status, etc. So whatever the industry can do from their side has done. I think it's a thought process that the industry has put into this, identified segments that are possible, right? Realign themselves to the new realities of tomorrow. And I think that's what's really going to take us forward. Is there anything else that you think I would have missed out on? What else would you expect the industry to do? I mean, we've been through a phase of virtually, it's literally survival for us, right? And we've been through the toughest time possible. Yet the industry is coming forward. Yes, the industry is willing to help. We are willing to put our heads together. We are willing to get together in skill development people. We are ready to help out in whatever form we can. And the amount of time that the industry has spent, Priyanka, the amount of time that the industry has spent with the government, whether it be Jyoti, whether it be Mr. Khanna, whether it be Tejveer, each one of them, the amount of time that we brainstorming with the government, getting ideas together, studying global ideas, what others are doing, etc., to put together. So certainly this document, don't get me wrong, Priyanka, is not a document that we're going forward with a bowl to the government and saying, we are saying that we need steps. We need the base. We need the core. right? Why is it that in 65 years or in 75 years, that tourism is still considered to be an elitist activity? When it is if it's 10 or 11 or 12% of GDP, it can be an engine of economic growth. The private sector is working very hard to change that perception. Nobody else is working that hard to change that perception as we are, right? We have to change the impression of all stakeholders. Do you realize that only 1% of less than 0.04%, if I last calculated, was what the elitist part of this industry was? The rest of it is not. You've seen for yourself that 2.3 billion is the domestic tourism. Would you consider that all of that elitist, right? We are talking of that 11 million. Even in those 11 million that came, how many of them were backpackers? How many of them were in Goa?
Thank you, Nakul. Priyanka, to add to what Nakul said, and very correctly as you have identified, there are two aspects to this whole thing. It's a partnership approach between the industry and the government. The government has to come up with the enabling processes. And as you rightly asked, what is it that the industry is doing? Coming on the backdrop of this 23 months horrendous time, the industry is coming together constantly, trying to ideate, trying to invest, trying to skill, trying to develop and train the perception, as you're constantly seeing. And reskilling, upgrading, reading their taking loans. That is how the industry gets ready its war chest to be in a position to start running. As Rajiv mentioned, that we are now ready to start receiving visitors, doesn't matter long haul or short haul. So this is what the industry can do. And since we are looking at a 2035 time frame and saying this is how we need to start moving, it's not a daily document. Manas,
absolutely,
please.
and thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Anand. Very well put. Perhaps maybe I miscommunicated it. What I would like to know is, your points very well taken. If the same document is presented to the government, like it would be, if the first two action plan that you would seek from them, let me ask it this way: that to get the engine, to get the car moving, to progress on this vision, this amazing vision 2035. Yeah. The first 2 points that you would say, sir, immediate requirement hamari. I
would put at three things. I would one say rationalization of taxes, right? We must be price competitive, which is very, very important. Second, why is it that tourism has not succeeded in India? One of the reasons, of course, other than that being an elitist tag, so on and so forth, is it's lost between the state and the center, right? Neither are we on the state list, neither are we on the central list, neither are we on the concurrent list, right? Can we come into the concurrent list? Because tourism is a ministry of ministries. Typically, if I was the tourism minister, if I was the tourism secretary, and if you came to me and said that there's a problem in last mile connectivity with the roads, I have to go to Ministry of Highway. For seas, I've got to go to the Ministry of Ports or whatever it is, right? For aircraft, airline connections, I've got to go to Ministry of Civil Aviation. For visa, etc., I've got to Ministry of Home Affairs or Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Ministry of Defense for something or the other. So everywhere that we are stuck, we get stuck is because we are a maze of ministries. Right. So firstly, rationalization of taxes, very, very important. Secondly, bring us on the concurrent list, right? That creates a vehicle for us to move forward. Thirdly, I think that this industry is going to be capital intensive. It is capital intensive. There will be investments required. So please give this industry infrastructure status. Infrastructure status, one, to attract investments into this industry, which is so very, very important, right? Number two, to be able for people to recover from their losses by being able to amortize their loans, etc., which is part of what comes along with the infrastructure status, pan tourism industry. So these are three that I would say are very, very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank
you. Nakul, thank you, Priyanka. We now move to Manas.
I just wanted to add on Ashish there.
Sorry,
Nakul had asked me, so I wanted to add on after he finished. So Priyanka, I wanted to say another thing to you. I think Nakul put it very correctly, actually. But there are two things that every country needs to recognize when there is tourism. And there are countries which are living on tourism only, and they're surviving because of that. Absolutely. Our focus as a country is not on tourism at all, I believe. And that is where we get lost, because I think we are a very important industry and we need to move together with the government to at least establish, like also Nakul said, but in another word called ease of business. There is no ease of business in our country. And that is what is really needed, to say that at least there is a task force which actually looks at all of us collectively and also not make it irrelevant by getting all associations which are not even connected with the Ministry of Tourism in any format to be a part of it. I think Faith is the only association that needs to be recognized as one association, as a federation, to be heard and to be taken inputs from, because we actually get lost with other federations and other associations. And I think we 10 here are the most relevant, holding the entire country together. So that's one thing I really we need to emphasize to the government, that they should stop going from pillar to post by listening to different tourism, state tourism, national tourism associations, and many more, because that is going to bring ease of business. And as we are heading for a 1 trillion economy, I mean, that's what the Prime Minister is saying. And he's also emphasizing on our Atmanirbharness. So if we have to become Atmanirbhar, we need at least the support system to move forward. And that is the only one thing that they should be actually focusing on. And like I always keep saying that again, that the entire tourism gambit should be placed in one ministry, so that we are not running pillar to post and we have all rationalizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Does any of the other presidents have a quick viewpoint on this? Because it's a very important point. Anyone else among our presidents? Right, we move to Manas. Manas, you had a question. I see your hand raised.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Thank you, Faith, for organizing this press conference and releasing the vision document. I had 2 or 3 quick questions on the short-term goals. Firstly, wanted to ask what kind of reception Faith and on behalf of all the associations has received from the government on the short-term demands, as we heard from the presentation from all the associations. Quickly going to the points which are pertinent right now are, I can see the free visa announced by the government is expiring on the March 31st. We can only see, I think, close to 50 to 60,000 visas issued by now. This should be extended. So has Faith heard anything on it? Another thing is the budget announced by the government. We have seen that the budget for overseas marketing and promotion has significantly gone down, which says the approach which we know that how much the promotion is required right now when reopening is being done all over the world. The countries are opening up, and we know it's the high time to promote India as an ideal destination. So what kind of reception Faith or all the associations are getting from the government as an idea, and what Faith is putting forward to especially put for the campaign marketing? Because we have seen Ministry of Tourism is conducting a social media campaign, but is there anything in the pipeline?
Thanks. This is a very extensive question, Manas. So probably I'll quickly first invite 2 or 3 presidents who have not had a chance to respond. Maybe first Rajiv, and then we'll go to Amrish and then Ajay. Rajiv, would you like to respond to what Manas had asked, please?
Rajiv, you may like to share with Manas what you've been sharing with me over the last 4 or 5 days, how India is gradually opening up and how we are getting calls and what we're going to do with the e-visa. Even our call this morning that you gave me some very good news this morning. You may like to share that with them.
Well, that's all unofficial, sir. That's why.
No, but anyway, what has happened? What is official? What is official?
I'll just let you know. First of all, the position is that we have had about 125,000 e-visas issued, plus about 50,000 paper visas issued so far. We are after the government that the March 2022 time limit should not be there, and which is being looked into. You might see this as and when very soon the Home Ministry announces the restoration of all visas. So whenever that takes place, I think this will also be addressed to some extent. We were successful in getting the quarantine restrictions removed with the help of Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health, which has sent a very good wave outside, and people are talking about visiting India now. The restrictions, besides those 82 countries, are still there, and that is not much except for an RT-PCR test before departure. There is no quarantine. So we have requested the ministry also then another 10, 12 days, that should also be removed. Now, the flights also should resume soon, which we are very hopeful, which we are hearing from all sources that will happen. So once all these things happen, definitely the tickle will start coming in, and I'm quite hopeful that not the 100%, but to some extent and to a large extent, I'll rather say, from October onwards, we will definitely have business coming in from both short haul and long haul. And as one of my colleagues said, yes, there is a tendency to stay for a longer time. And as soon as the scheduled flights open, we will have no problems of traveling from India, Nepal, India, or to Sri Lanka, where people are wanting to combine the tours. So Manas, things are happening, and we should be thankful to the Government of India and to the Honorable Prime Minister for doing all those things, and things will be good soon. Thank you.
Again, to answer an earlier question, the private sector is continuously, and by private sector, I mean all the 10 associations that form FAITH, is continuously feeding government with all the information, what is happening in other countries, etc., which empowers the tourism ministry to take it further to the next ministry, whether it's a finance ministry, whether it's the home ministry. Say Thailand has opened up, why can't we open up our visa, right? This is the input that the private sector is giving, or the associations are giving to the government.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nakul. Thank you, Rajiv. Amrish, do you want to share a thought on this, please?
Yes, please. So thank you for the question. In fact, ICPB, along with the Ministry of Tourism, and especially with the Additional Secretary, Shri Rakesh Verma, who is Chairman ICPB as well, we were drafting from last 2 years the roadmap for promotion of India as a MICE destination. And recently, we engaged the ICA International Conference Organization, which is the international body for the convention industry. And we had gone through the whole roadmap and ease of doing business. In fact, Year of MICE, we are planning to launch Year of MICE 2023. The proposal with the Ministry of Tourism at a very serious consideration. As our chairman says, National MICE policy is already on the verge of releasing. And with the ICA, we are roping up for ease of organizing the MICE event. And there we had identified a specific purpose, like the Ministry of Culture and ASI will provide necessary support to facilitate the MICE event and delegates within the ambit of AMSAR Act 1958. So iconic monuments will be identified at MICE destination, which can be explored for opening up a culture function for MICE event. And recently, as Chairman Faith has sent an invite for the Red Fort, so that was a culture function happened within the Red Fort. So online group bookings for Indian Railways for the MICE event going to be allowed soon. And Ministry is planning a single vendor clearance for all NOCs to be handled at one single point for the international conferences. All the major venues, hotel association will be encouraged to come forward to participate in Adopt a Heritage scheme as well. Ministry of External Affairs will facilitate ICPB regarding visa to the delegates and facilitation counter at all major international airport for major MICE event, which Ministry is taking up with the airport authorities. Coach parking for the coach parking and for the MICE delegate in the airport. So lots of these kind of ease of doing events has been identified along with the ICA, ICPB, Ministry of Tourism at a very senior level where all the ministries were engaged, deliberation happened. And this going to definitely make a positive impact. In fact, ICA identified 11,078 international conferences has been not happened in India in last 15 years, whereas they had their local chapters, so which we are trying to tap them, and that is why we are asking the global bidding fund of 500 CR. So those are the things which is not just on the papers at the ministry level, at the government level and faith level. This is going on a serious and positive direction.
Amrish, you may like to expand on the global bidding fund. That's a great example of private-public partnership as to how the government, how the private sector, or how ICPB and Faith together have convinced the government the role that they need to play in getting international conventions by creating a global bidding fund. And I think that recommendation is very close to being accepted, if not already accepted. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Almost, sir. Thank you, sir.
Also, I think two very important things in MICE. If you know the Dubai Expo, the sub-brand that Amrish spoke about, that we have been together asking, that's been approved and it's about to be launched as an outcome of our work together. And second, I think a couple of months back, even the convention sector, etc., were announced as an infrastructure sector. So these are some of the things which have happened. And as Manas we shared earlier, we have been very closely interacting with the Parliamentary Committee on Tourism, and they have verbatim released all our recommendations and are taking up with both houses of Parliament on the roadmap to each of those recommendations. Ajay, do you have a quick thought on this, please, before we go to Deepa? All right, we'll come back to Ajay if he is there. Deepa?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, please, Ajay. Please carry on.
Yes, you are audible, Ajay. You're not visible, but you're audible.
Oh, well, I think there's some here. No, I mean, I think which pointed out. Am I still audible, Amrish?
Can I request everyone to mute their mics, please? We are not able to hear Ajay.
Ajay, you're breaking up.
Well, I think I will have to pass because suddenly my internet's gone haywire.
Okay.
All right, we'll move to Deepa. Deepa, thank you for your patience. Can you ask a question now, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Deepa here. I'm from the Hindu newspaper in Chennai. My question pertains to, this is a national policy document that you are submitting to the Government of India. My question is that there are two parts to it. Are you submitting similar documents to the respective states? Are you giving them a vision as to what they can do? And then what kind of initiatives are we seeing from the states post-pandemic? Thank you.
Do you have a question specific to anyone, or shall we
Ashish, I think you can handle this
No, sir, you
question.
can take it, sir. You can take it, sir.
All right, Deepa, so first on the policy document, as Nakul rightly said, we have been invited to share. We started the whole process of the tourism policy almost 4 years back with the government, and we're very happy it's come to a stage again of on a national draft basis. We are going to be in a workshop with the government in a week from now, faith associations. There are multiple suggestions to it, but broadly there are three things. Number one, we would like the policy to be more goal-oriented with specific targets which are achievable. Number two, we would like the policy to have specific timelines. You see, every policy cannot be open-ended. There has to be a closure to the policy. When does the policy start and end? After we say the policy has achieved the objective, we would like the policy to have a terminal timeline and say this is where this policy, like the foreign trade policy, and the policy, we would then connect the policy to the vision document that we have shared today. And so how can the policy help in achieving the vision and the strategies that we have identified? Finally, we want the policy to have specific interministerial activities, because tourism cannot in India be independent of what other central government ministries are doing or what states are doing, as you rightly asked. So we would want the policy to have specific interministerial platforms and goals which have been identified so that it's not in isolation. The second point that you asked about states, and I'm very happy that you asked that. Faith works at two levels, and all our associations have, as you are very well aware, or probably not, all our associations or most have regional and state chapters. So over the past multiple years, we have been having multiple workshops with different state governments, along with the regional and state chapters of the associations. And even while we are talking, we are in discussions with state governments on identifying what is it that we can do in terms of the investment promotion, etc. You have given a very good idea of making a vision document for each state, and we shall certainly take that up, Deepa. Thank you very much.
And I think just this morning we were in dialogue with the West Bengal government. We had a letter from them that requesting us that could Faith put together a document for them, and we are in dialogue. We said that We'd love to catch up with you and do a Zoom call with you. So just this morning, and we visited various states. We've been involved in the tourism policy of every state virtually, whether it be Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, all these, it went through us. They took our suggestions with us. We amalgamated best practices of some of the states and gave it to all the others, etc. So they could be incorporated in the individual tourism policies. Proud to say that today most states have taken out a tourism policy, right?
Thank you, Nakul. We can come back. I don't see any hands raised. Does anyone have a revert question, or does any of the president want to answer on any specific point that we missed out on? A return question, or any of the presidents want to share their thoughts on any of the points that were raised earlier?
I think one of the reasons why we sort of requested this is that we believe that our greatest friends are the press, right? And you can spread the message. I told you, question rightly asked, what is the private sector doing? Our biggest challenge is changing the perception that tourism is not an elitist activity. It is an engine of economic growth. At a time when the world GDP is dropping, this sector can bring back 10 to 12% into India. It has the greatest opportunity. We seek your voice to take this message further to people. And the more that people hear about it, that what tourism can do, the more the buy-in will we get. That's really our request to each one of you who are attending this meeting. Any of my fellow colleagues would like to add on anything to this?
Girish, Tejbir, PP, Sharat, Jyoti, Ajay, Rajiv, any additional thoughts you would like to share on the points raised by the reporters?
We can close then.
Yeah, so I think there are three key takeaways also from this. One is, as was rightly pointed out, the policy document, which is immediate. We will work with the government to create a connect on the policy document to our Vision 2035. Second, as we are all aware, and the question has been asked, there's a national vision exercise of 2047, and our vision commemorating the 75 years of independence will connect as a step to the 100-year of independence. And our targets will be laying the platform and the capability to achieving the 2047 vision outcome. And third, we will also then move to states, which we've always been doing in terms of specific policy interventions. But as was rightly pointed out, to see if we can create interconnecting vision with the states to achieve the overall vision. As most of you are aware, and you have supported us all throughout, over the past 23 months, we have been engaging with all chief ministers. We've had, I think 3 months back, an interstate, all state secretaries meeting. We've engaged with all tourism ministers of aligning them to the very thought process that we are sharing here today.
Ashish, one takeaway that we can all take away is that we can prepare a matrix, right? We have broken up our 75 million by tourism segment, right, into heritage, into this. So on the vertical axis, we can take that. In the horizontal axis, we can take a state and then total it up again to 75. So under each segment, how much each state can get could be a great exercise that we could put together and then share it with various states. There lies their potential, even if they were to stay in the same proportion as they are today.
That's a very good thought, yes. It doesn't appear we have any other questions. So I think the PR agency will be working with you to share the vision statement and the overall abstract. Thank you very much for taking our time, for those who were there all through.
Rajiv was to give a vote of thanks.
Yes, and now I invite Rajiv to share the final vote of thanks on our Honorary Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Mr. Anand. On behalf of the Chairman, Faith, and the 10 member associations, I, Rajiv Mehra, Honorary Secretary, Faith, would like to thank each one of you for participating in today's press conference. Hope detailed givens by the Chairman, Faith, and the 10 member associations would be carried prominently, and request ensure good publicity so that this sector comes up. We'll definitely keep the press media updated for further developments as soon as the Indian borders open up for tourism, as well as the domestic tourism, outbound, all sectors start in the same way as we used to be. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
And thank you.
Thank you.
You can stop the recording now, please.